the way they build their teams, it's a mix of teams and agents.
Yes.
How does that then play out with where the space that you're playing in? Is this a place where we're now looking, or companies are looking at agents like employees? Are companies advanced enough? Some of them are, I imagine, where we're starting to look at what roles, guardrails do we give each agent? What sort of QAing, security can we around each agent? Is that where companies are at the moment? Is this an evolving landscape? Are companies way behind?
So I think initially when people were creating things, and now we're talking about stuff that's much more pure agentic, right? So much more autonomous, they can do what they want. Historically, I think a lot of people would view it as just another system, right? Another system to be integrated. And that fed the thing of sort of saying, well, and it needs information to be useful because its AI needs information. And that's where they just view it as a computer system and give it access to everything. And that's where things like the McDonald's breaches would come into play. The learnings from that are now that, well, agents are technically, they're not a computer system because they're non-deterministic. They can wander everywhere. And they fall into that classification of NHI, non-human identities, which isn't a new thing, right? We've had non-human identities for a while, but such as like, service accounts or, machine-to-machine integrations, right? Difference now, I think, with agentic non-human identities is they're non-deterministic and they can kind of potentially roam anywhere they want. So that's the difference between them before. You knew this was a point-to-point connection. You knew what it had access to, and you knew when it would be firing. Versus agentic, I don't know where it's going to go. It could go anywhere at any certain point in time. And if I haven't put the right scopes on it, it could ask. I don't even know what it's going to ask for, right? So that's where that wild card comes in. So there's definitely a different rising classification of agentic identities, and they are themselves having their own identity. Now, the weird thing about it as well is we need to know who the agent is and what can it do, what can it have access to. But there's a blend inside there where you now need to know who is it acting on behalf of. So there's the concept already in identity of impersonation. So logging in as somebody else is quite common inside the customer service space where they come to assist you and like, okay, I'm going to log in, I'm going to access your account on your behalf. So that impersonation thing will say, I see it as you, as James. However, I can see that I'm acting as Kevin, the support agent, right? So that model kind of already exists. But again, now the part that makes it different from the agentic standpoint is that non-deterministic aspect of it, where it can kind of go anywhere at any point in time and access whatever it wants on your behalf. So that changes that yet again, where we now need to ensure we know who the agents are, who they're acting on behalf of, but for the context, that's the difference. What are you doing it for? And since agents are non-deterministic, guardrails are okay, but they're just suggestions, right? They're not hard and fast. They're just suggestions for what it should do. It can still decide to do something else on its own. Actually, I have a side story where Claude did that to me. You need to make sure the permissions you're giving to it on your behalf are scoped just for the context of what you've given it to do for that very small amount of time. So I think that's the differences that we're seeing now is smaller scope, time limited, and that's it. Versus before, they were probably a lot more wider open because you knew the deterministic nature of where they're going to be going.
Is this something you work with companies on architecting these solutions? I imagine.
Well, understanding that as an interaction point of we're now putting in impersonation, we're now putting on scoping, and also time bound. So that's something that's quite new and different.
I think that's a really interesting space, especially when it comes to the changing nature of technology teams. I think technology teams, you will be a human being, an employee, supported by multiple agents.
Yeah.
Each of your agents, you should have some form of knowledge about what they're doing, what they're accessing, what data they're sharing.
Yeah.
Like you would, or like most companies can, if they've got a decent security infrastructure in place to say, hey, okay, where is data? Who's accessing what? What are people doing with their employees? I think that same level of knowledge, QA, security, guardrails around agents, the same way you would an employee, is something where more mature environments, I think, are looking at it. But I'm also seeing a lot, especially in the SMB space, it's just build agent, get agent to do whatever, who knows.
And get it out fast. Yeah. So I think that's something that a lot of the software industry is trying to figure out is how do we, as opposed to making people have to build all those things on their own, how can we kind of wrap that up more so that it's token vaulting? So like you never give an agent a token because you've just given it the key. So how do I give it the valet key for a certain amount of time? So it can never really do anything else with it. How do you know the actions that it's going to take or which actions it took for that scope that you gave it? So all this traceability needs to be there as well. And right now I'm kind of seeing that as sort of disparate features all over the place that it's up to the developer to put into place, which if they don't know about it, they're not going to do because I got to get this out by Tuesday.
Also, it comes back to the importance of software engineers, proper software engineers or experienced software engineers. I can vibe code a website. Me going in and actually understanding the nuances there and being able to then go to the point where I'm putting the right technologies in place, the right frameworks, right security in place. I don't have that know-how, and that's where the quality engineer, the experience comes in, and will remain very important.
Yeah,
for the foreseeable future, I think, in building